All right, we have another episode in season 4. We have a very special guest with us, Chris. He's a men's life coach. So go ahead and introduce yourself, where you're from, what you do, Chris, and then we'll get into the topic of how you're helping other men to achieve overall, to become better in life, and just how you got your trajectory in life of that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Orozco, and I help men kind of get out of bad habits. I, helps people develop and get into what it takes to be a good human and what it takes to be a good man. And a lot of men, struggle with mental health issues. So I just want to bring awareness to that. My story kind of started when I was born in Colombia. I moved to the United States when I was 9 years old and struggled pretty much fitting in with everybody. I struggled just finding my way, and I was a good athlete. I played college basketball at the Division 1 level, but I was really struggling with, how to, with certain habits like smoking, drinking, and it really took me a while for me to get away from those things. So now I just bring awareness to men who are in those same habits and struggling to really find themselves, and bringing awareness to mental health.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that you're doing that because a lot of a lot of men are not very in tune in their mental health, and so it's a really testament that what you're doing to help other people. I know for me, when I, first started the show, it was not easy because, like, you never knew what type of criticism you was gonna get, or you never knew what type of, audience members you was gonna get. I think like 30% of our audience is women, and the other 80% or the other 70% is men. So obviously, our demographic is towards more men because that's what we're trying to target, right?
Right.
And so I just think that men's mental health um, has continuously gotten better. Like, in my opinion, like, because more people are starting to talk about it, more podcasters are starting to talk about it, and I want the word to be out there because I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave a legacy to this, and I think that it's an honor to have you on here. I don't take my guesses for granted. For the past 4 years that I've been doing this show, I always try to reach back out to people, see how they doing. Even eventually when we reach our 100 episode, in 2027, we're gonna have a big party where we're gonna invite our guests. Hopefully you would like to come and
Yes,
celebrate
of
all the
course.
other
That would
men.
be awesome.
And because I want to continuously keep this as a platform where, even after this show is over with, I want us to still communicate because every man needs that sense of community.
Right.
Um, so when I think about community, I wanted you to share your journey with us, with the viewers, if you don't mind. Just about, like, what was your overall, before we started talking about men's mental health, what was your journey like? Like, I know you, before the show we talked a little bit about, like, you were struggling with depression and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
just take the audience members back. Like, did you have friends to depend on, and how was that? What was your journey like?
Yeah, in 2017, right after college, well, in 2016 was really when I was in college and things were going great. But then I started getting into smoking, and I remember I was with a friend and a friend of a friend, and they were smoking marijuana, and I was like, yeah, let me get involved, and I ended up smoking a drug that they put in the marijuana, and that led me to a really bad depression where I was in and out of hospitals for a while. I gained 30, 40 pounds. Really felt really lonely, and I didn't have anyone at the time to talk to. I was rejecting all my friends. I was kind of in my own world. And, I'm a believer in God, and sometimes God will send you angels. And there was a woman that my mom met, and she came over to my house. She prayed for me, and I was so thankful for that. And then at the end, she gave me a $50 bill. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want your money, like whatever. And she goes, no, it's not from me, it's from God. And I got a job offer right after that. So things started to get better. And, slowly I was getting out of that depression and slowly getting back into the light. But it was a really tough time. And, when you go through those times, you realize a lot about yourself and you realize that you're the only one that can really get yourself out of it. There's nobody else. There's nobody, in this case, yes, I had somebody come pray for me, but most of the time it's like you got to fight your inner demons and try to get out of that situation and do everything you can, because your life is so much bigger and you have every single human has purpose. And you know we all, you just got to kind of find it and go with it. So it was a really tough time, but it has led me to this moment where I help others, and it's really my calling to help men get out of those situations.
Yeah, and I could definitely like me, like they would gravitate towards me, but really there. And then as you get older in your 20s, like okay, I can finally be myself and let other people know what's going on.
Right.
But it's really disheartening when you have to feel like you have to hide that, uh, even from your own mother, like
Yeah, yeah.
And
Those
it's like, but mental illness runs in our family, so it's like eventually I was going to get that hereditary trait anyway, so it
Yeah,
really didn't matter. And so what I always say to men is like, whenever you're struggling with depression or suicidal thoughts or whatever's going on, you need to reach out to someone, because that's why these life coaches, that's why these psychiatrists or clinicians or even our own talk show is here to help people that's struggling with depression, because you're not alone. you
yeah,
know I'm in a lot of men's mental health groups, and I see so many dysfunctional men. Like, they might be having problems with sex, they might be having problems with not having enough sex, they might be having problems with, suicidal ideations, ADHD. And then some men, it's just like they just having problems in all aspects of their life, and they don't
yeah,
have anywhere to turn to.
yeah,
So I leave now the question up to you. Now I wanted to know, when you, what was like the first signs of your depression when you was younger? Like, how
yeah.
did you even know that it was depression around that time?
Honestly, I was always very active. I played college basketball, and I always felt like I always had good thoughts. And when I felt depressed, I didn't want to leave my house anymore. I didn't want people reaching out to me. I didn't want to, be around people. I just wanted to be alone. And I knew that was a different thing. I never knew what depression was like before, but that was like something I never really thought about before, just being alone and really all to myself. I love people. I love talking to people. So those were like some early signs of like, all right, like I felt kind of like my world just like caving in a way. And, you know, um, so those were the early signs. And then just like not eating, not really wanting to work out. I've always been somebody that loves to work out, somebody who loves to work on their body, their health, and their fitness. And I wasn't working out. So like, once I started really gaining weight, I was like, okay, I don't feel like myself, I feel differently. And that really lasted a whole year, like from the start to the finish. And it was, man, I felt it was a tough year. But like I said, that might be the greatest thing that happened to me, because I know what it's like to be in rock bottom. And I think people need to be more aware that when they do hit rock bottom, sometimes that's your biggest blessing. And I know it's tough to realize it at the time, but when you hit rock bottom, it's like, all right, I have to, there's no way but going up. And, so I just kind of, slowly started getting back into things, slowly started acclimating myself. And yeah, that's kind of how I got out of it. But it was a whole year where I really struggled.
Yeah, and just put, to put a perspective back in how bad depression can get. For me, when I was, even depression turning into suicidal thoughts at one point, for me, just because like I felt so inadequate, I wanted wanted to date this girl that she rejected me, and then eventually she got married, and I'm like, I wanted you so bad.
Yeah, man. Those
And
are
you
tough
get
moments.
married, and then you have a baby. I wanted to have your baby.
Yeah.
And then you feel like inadequate and feel like nobody else is gonna ever love you. Like I was just going through so much, and I think that I had to really sit back and think that life is not over with. Just because I didn't get with her or didn't, have her kids doesn't mean that there won't never be a future for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes like it's really hard to think about that in the moment when you
Right.
when you want things in life. And
Right.
even just I always wanted to work for a corporation, and I just kept getting different job rejections. But I think as you get older in life and you start to see that there is your purpose has not been found yet, because you're not ready to get to that level yet.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people, they want things to go a certain way for them, like when, God or whatever higher being you might be, you know into, tells you that no, you're not just going on a straight path. You're going to have some zigzags along the line, but those lessons is you know is what makes you stronger in life. And
Yeah,
I
I
had to
think
really learn. I had to really learn that, for me, those lessons is what made me the person I am today, because I'm more of a resilient person because I didn't get everything I wanted. Just say if I got everything I wanted when I was young, how would I deal with life challenges when I get older?
exactly.
So I think that there's a purpose. Our pain has to be our purpose.
Yeah.
We have to be able to tell other people these stories so they can feel like they're not alone. And, you know, when I'm thinking about the trajectory of my life, I want to leave an impact on people. I don't want to just be selfish and just think about like everything is, about me in my life.
Right.
I can, that's why I didn't label this the Duran's talk show. I labeled it
Exactly.
the men's talk show. I always thought about that. I kept that, I kept an open mind about that because this is our talk show where men of all races of walks of life, we have had Indian people, we have had, Sweden people come on here, we have had Chinese people come on here, we have white people, black people, like it's very diverse on this channel, and that's the
It's
way I
beautiful, man.
intended it. That's the way I intended it to be, because there's no one monologue for black people or white people or Hispanic people or Colombian people. Like we're all different in our own ways, and I
Yeah.
want to be able to share and give back to that. Now, another question I want to ask you is like, how did you know, going now into the path that you're on now that you've been through depression, what is some of like, do you like coach people or do you bring them on to kind of ask them what they're like, how they're, what they're doing in their life? Like, how do people reach out to you or you reach out to people? How does that
Yeah.
work? How you
So
run that
I
culture?
have so people reach out to me. Let's say they come with me with a problem, and then I try to kind of what I do is I ask them questions about powerful questions to help them find answers from within. I believe everyone has the answers from within. You just really have to be asked the right question. So when they come to me with a problem, I ask them like the life coaching. I ask them questions and just help them find answers from within. And there's people that come to me with all different types of problems. It could be depression, it could be anxiety, and I kind of just help them realize that the power that they have within is incredible if you start slowly working on yourself. And it takes time. It doesn't happen, somebody doesn't change overnight. It takes time for people to change, to really break these habits that they have. It's not going to go overnight, but slowly you start seeing people change and really find themselves and find who they really are. So that's pretty much what I do. I also run workouts with people to really find their fitness, to because the brand is called Orozco Body and Mind. So it's about clearing having your mind clear, but also having, your body is important and how you feel in your own body, doing, lifting weights, going on a run, going hiking, just moving your body will help your mind stay clear. So, yeah, those are kind of some of the things that I do. Eventually, I would like to have a platform like this. So I feel very happy that you had me on. And eventually, bringing more awareness to men who, are struggling, because there is a lot of people and a lot of men, struggling with just their habits. That's really what it comes down to. What are you doing every single day? Are you moving forward or are you moving backwards? And we want more people to move forward to their goals, to their life right the right lifestyle that they want. And it can be done, man. It can be done with the work you put in, with concentrating. You have the ability to be great and live the life that you really want to live.
Yeah, I truly do believe that, and I think that I'm gonna ask you two more final questions, and then we'll end the show. But before I get to those final two questions, there's just some things I wanted to kind of mention about what you said.
Mhm.
You know, you don't have to really go through this life alone. I think that a lot of men feel like, the macho guys, like I'm strong, I could do this all alone. But there is a lot of communities out here to help people. I'm in like 8 different men's mental health groups,
Oh,
and it
nice.
doesn't make me like I'm needing, it's not like I need help on a constant basis, but it's nice to have that support,
That community, yeah.
the community where I can just go and vent to my problems when other people may not be able to relate to what I'm going through. I know it's going to be 9 times out of 10, it's going to be some men when I type in whatever I type in that's going to be able to say, yeah, I've been through that same exact with a girl or with with a partner or with a friendship. Like it's always going to be camaraderie in there. And I even started my own Discord channel. We have like maybe 20 men in the chat. Hopefully you can be part of that group too. Give them
Of
some like
course.
advice.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for new people to join our Discord to help other men because, it can get really lonely. You know, it can get really lonely. When
Absolutely.
you feel like you have to do it all alone. But there's community and everything. So my final two questions. One of my questions is, I wanted to know the trajectory that you see yourself, going towards when you're helping life coach. Like I know you said that you eventually like to maybe have a platform similar to us where you talk about and get the word out of there, but like where do you see yourself maybe 2 years from now? Like maybe when you get bigger, like when you get, who knows? You can be at 50,000 by 2 years from now. Who knows what the future holds, right? So
Yeah.
what do you see yourself like? How are you gonna like scale your business? What are some of the things you're gonna do to get more eyeballs on your business?
Right. I see this brand, expanding, and I want to do it. It's not to obviously be nice to make money, but I want to do it from a place where, how many people can you really impact, and how many people could you really start changing their lives in a positive way. So I would like eventually to write some books. I would like to eventually have a platform where I speak to large audiences. I would like to have a podcast, and just be myself and not get lost in the how much money I'll make or whatever that may be.
Mhm.
I just want to really
It's good to
um,
have money though, right?
no, it's good to have money. Yes, it's good to have money, but I want to do it from a place of love where I really, um,
Mhm.
do things the right way, and just inspire a lot of people. So whatever that may be, maybe it'll be in 2 years, maybe it'll be in 5 years, but I see the brand just really expanding and having eventually down the line having retreats in other countries. Um, I
That's
would like to go. Yeah, I
nice.
would like to bring a group of men in other countries and work on meditation, work on fitness, do things like that where I'm bringing more awareness to the topic. But just feel really fortunate that I found something that I love and found kind of a purpose, my purpose. Um, and I believe everyone has a purpose, and it takes time to find, but um, it just feel very fortunate. So yeah, that's kind of where I see the brand going down the line.
Hmm. And then my last question to end out the show: where can people find you? Like, how are you currently accepting new clients,
I
or?
am, yes. I'm currently accepting clients. You could on Instagram, Orozco Body and Mind. Um, and then I have a website, orozcobodyandmind.com. And you could reach out to me. Feel free. I love talking to new people. I love making new connections. So just thank you again for the opportunity. Like you said, I want to bring more awareness to this topic, and um, more people to understand they're not alone, and you can really get out of dark situations with a lot of help. But you have to be willing to put your part too, one step in front of the other. So yeah, that's where you can find me. On TikTok, I'm Orozco Body and Mind. On Facebook, Chris Orozco, and Orozco Body and Mind. So yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me.
All right. Well, that kind of ends our conversation